Greetings, fellow metalworkers. Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to The Last Plague Blight, Episode 4, Toolcrafting. But I want to get home. That's my priority, so I'm just going to keep running home. Southbound. So I'm in a plains area. I'm probably coming up on that river. Yep, I see the river ahead. And then, given the bend of this river, I might be able to tell where exactly those caves are in relation to the river. So it looks like it's easier when I orient north. So I think the caves are actually more along here. So, the caves I found are here and here. Because this river bends up, but there's no lake nearby, so the bend is this one. Meaning just north is the two caves. That's my, and I think I forded the river originally right here. Because this looked like the narrowest part. Because I'm looking north. Yeah. So, kind cardine should be right over there. I'm not going to be able to really keep my tools dry. Oh, poor tools. And let's keep running home. So the next point of interest I should find is a road in a forest. So I'm going to enter a dense forest, hit a road, and then once I hit a road, I know that I'm pretty close to home. The road is going to be here. There's really no way for me to avoid this road, because no matter where I am up north, because this road runs all the way around, I have to hit the road. So that's one of the really useful navigation tools is like, because there are roads that go east-west, even if they kind of go, you know, northeast, southwest or something like that, you'll hit them eventually, and you can use them for orientation. The tool in my hand was dry? Yeah, because I was holding it higher in the water. Which is why I had it in the... Because the hatchet is a lot more important than the knife. The hatchet is your firewood and all that. Your knife is just like skinning animals. And you don't use your knife very often. I try to keep the hatchet dry. But everything in my backpack's wet right now. It's fine. I'm thirsty. Maybe through osmosis I'll be alright. That was a bad joke. So here is the second river. No, this is the road. Cool. So this road, I'm going to ignore it, knowing that I'm passing over it. So looking north, I'm somewhere in this section. So heading south, I should hit the lake, and once I hit the lake, it'll be really easy to spot my camp because it's out on the peninsula with a structure. So it stands out pretty well. There it is. There's home. Wow, there are so many deer. Given that I live on a peninsula, it would be really easy to trap the deer. Like, they're not going to go into the water, and they are scared of me. So, they're going to be... they would be so easy to hunt. I just don't need to. I'm not hungry. Let's get this... So, the stone bowl, I'm going to, like, put away. Let's get some water going, because I'm thirsty. I don't even... so I'm going to start a stockpile of this iron, because it's heavy and big and bulky. There we go. So I'm literally have nothing to do. Like, I can't use it for a long time. unless I rush the tech tree, which, you know, you could vote on, I guess, but I'm not planning on doing that unless you vote for me to, like, just bum rush tech tree. Is there a meat preserving system? Yes, multiple meat preserving systems. I don't want to share what they are just yet because I haven't reached them yet, but yeah, you can preserve food in a bunch of different ways. Oil. Is this fired? Yeah. The clicky noise is it's fired. Okay. So I am working on getting that crucible still. By firing up the kiln again. And let's do water. So the clay bowls hold more water than the stone ones, I think. I'll double check. Don't quote me yet. 200 versus... No, they hold the same. I'm just an idiot. The tech tree wanted me to get a clay bowl anyway. Can you set the forest on fire? No, fortunately. You cannot. Oh, rabbit remains. Is that Cody? Yep, Cody's the bones too. Let's gather their bones. Stick them in the fire. So sticking bones in the fire will dry them out faster so that you can make bone meal out of them sooner. Zifi, thank you for the resub. What else am I doing? Yeah, let's prep a little bit more firewood to keep the fire going overnight. I also would like to figure out what time it is by laying down on the bed and estimating the nighttime. So if you add fuel, you can only add like 11 hours of fuel, so you can pull some fuel out until you're able to light it. So, too much fuel, not enough room, or like 10 hours max or whatever. So I'm reaching basically the maximum amount of fuel that I can have, which is why I'm storing fuel in the fire for later. But I've almost filled up my thirst again. And this kiln has an hour and 5 minutes of fuel remaining, and the bricks are almost done. So let's prepare the next thing to be fired. Which is going to be the axe mold, the saw mold, and the nails mold. Stick them in. I'm also going to start a stockpile for copper and tin. Stockpiles for everything, just to free up some inventory space. Sir Cardinal, thank you for the resub too. All right, 97%. We're almost there. I could probably fit one more brick, but I don't think it's a big deal. Actually, you know what? I take that back. I'm going to make an axe mold. It's mud. I'm going to make an axe... Oh, I didn't mean to take it all, but whatever. I'm going to make an axe mold. Actually, I'm going to make a second nails mold. There we go. Get that fired. And that will fire overnight while I'm asleep. Alright, water's pretty much full. The fire here, I want to... well, maybe I don't need to fuel it up. Let's see what time it is. 8 hours, 8 hours from now. Perfect. Let's go to sleep. So, what do you want me to work on? If you want me to continue working on the metal tools, you're welcome to vote for it. If you want me to pivot and do something else, you're welcome to vote for that as well. But here we go. We have the saw blade mold. We've got the nails mold. And I just need to collect some mud mortar to build the crucible. And it looks like you guys want me to build the... make the first set of metal tools. I know I didn't give you a lot of time to vote, but, like, I see what you guys are voting on. So, we want to make mud mortar. So mud mortar is mud and soft clay. And I need how much of it? 2,000, I think, for the kiln. Yep. There's one batch of it. Oh no, maybe I have all that I need. Let's see. Yeah, no, 1,600. Okay. So one more and two more. It's like a 2-to-1 ratio. The thing about this is you'll make as much mud mortar in your inventory as you have space for. So if you don't want to burn all of your clay making mud mortar, make it in batches where you only have as much clay in your inventory as possible, as you want processed. Because if you have a giant stack of clay in your inventory, you're just going to make a giant stack of mud mortar and potentially waste a lot of clay. So I measured appropriately. So here's the crucible furnace. And thank you for voting. And Glitch and Super Rascal, thank you for the bits. Cheers. So the way the crucible furnace works, if you're familiar with Vintage Story, it's very similar. Oh, you haven't escaped yet. So we're going to stick the copper in and tin in, and it has to be in the right ratio or it's flawed. Now, for bronze nails, flawed doesn't really matter, but for tools like a saw blade, it would matter. And we want, so if you hit J and you go to your catalog and go to substances, this tells you the substances that you know about so far. Basically your recipes book. The journal here tells you that it wants a 6-to-1 ratio of copper to tin. So that's what we're aiming for here. So this is obviously not the ratio yet. And Cerise the Mage, thank you for gifting out a sub, and Joker for bits as well. Oh, pet the dogs. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to grab my small stone and use it as a hammer to hammer out the copper pieces smaller. This is an important bit. You can select the flint to hammer, but flint is a lot more important than small stones. Small stones are kind of everywhere. Flint isn't. So select the tool that you want, because you can break your stone in doing this and turn your stone into pebbles. And if you turn your stone into pebbles, that's not a big deal. But if you turn your flint into pebbles and you're only flint, there goes your fire source. So this is good quality bronze. I'm going to put 7 more pieces of copper in here in order to get it like the ratio that the tutorial tells me to do. There it is. So this will make 750 milliliters of copper. With that in mind, Oh, there we go. I needed to have the copper in my inventory. So, place a saw blade mold on the ground. Following the tutorial here. Collect 15 pieces of charcoal. So I believe the charcoal's in the chest over here. There we are. Smelt at least 500 milliliters of molten bronze and create a bronze saw blade. So I want to make 600 milliliters of bronze, or maybe 700, because I have 2 nail molds. So I don't want 750, I want 700. So I'm going to pull some of the bronze out of here. So here's 700 of good quality bronze. I want to use more... I think what I want to do is I want to use tin as much as I can, because copper is more scarce. So let's add some more tin to this recipe. And try to make it as tinny as possible. So that I conserve my copper. So basically, try to get to 700 without, there we go. So, there it is. 80-20. And in order to smelt this, we need to put charcoal fuel in. This charcoal fuel gives me 1 hour and 23 minutes. I don't need that much. I only need 30 minutes to smelt. So, 2 pieces of charcoal might do. And then we need the pine leaves and twigs. Fire it up. And as soon as it hits temperature, hit smelt. There it goes. So 32 minutes of fuel, smelting for 29 minutes. It will give me 700 milliliters of molten bronze, and I have 700 milliliters of molds ready. So we're good on that front. So in order to make a saw blade, I also need the handle. So I'm going to pick up a stick. And I don't... Yeah, I can use my knife to make a saw handle. Done. I should probably combine my stick piles. Doesn't make sense to have 2. There we go. The rest of the coal, charcoal, other stuff, I can put away, free up my inventory space. You can resmelt excess, yes. There will be some wastage though, which is what I was trying to avoid. So if you have a lot of excess fuel, or excess, metals, you can pour it into an ingot to conserve it, or you can, but if you don't have an ingot mold, the crucible will dry up, but it will waste some of your material. Is there different types of wood? No. There's no concept of, like, hardwood versus softwood. There is, sort of. There is... Well, we'll get into it. But yeah, there's not different woods. Alright, get the fire pit back. Because I'm a little thirsty. Also a little hungry, but I'm not worried about hunger because I have a bunch of cooked coyote meat I can eat. Let's have some. Oh, it's rotted. Oops. Well, I have the cured sausage that I started with. So I'll eat 1 cured sausage. and throw the rotten meat into the fire. Sorry, Cody. I definitely wasted your lovely resources. I didn't mean to. Alright, Crucible. It is done in now. Very important that you equip it. If you don't equip it, you spill it, and you waste everything. So here we go. Pouring into the molds. And yeah, I have fireproof hands. I just barehanded that. I know what you're thinking. And then, yeah. I'm Superman. Yeah, let's get some more water. Question for you guys. Do you want me to use the tools that I just made to start building shelter, or continue to make more tools? It's up to you. I almost feel bad for this deer. You know what? I'm gonna actually spook this deer to get it back into the forest, because it's, like, freaking out. Okay, it's honestly, it's too dumb to survive. Oh, no, it freed itself, sort of. Barely. And hardened complete. So here's my bronze nails. And my bronze blade. And I can combine the handle with the blade for a bronze saw. And then I also, so at this point, I wanted to make a shovel. So you guys want me to continue working on the shelter? Got it. Will do in just a minute. So, build a proper shelter. I do have a question for you. Flooring in a shelter is mostly cosmetic. Should my shelter include plank or stone floors, or just dirt? It will take extra time to make wood plank or stone floors, and it really won't benefit me, but I'm happy to do it if that's something you want. So for the saw blade, if you pick up a thick log and you put it down like this, with the saw in your hand, you saw short planks instead of chopping up into firewood. And for the shovel that I wanted, I also needed long planks. So to make long planks, you need just a longer piece of felled tree, like this one. This is still too long, huh? Oh, it's because I started chopping it. That's my fault. Alright, let's cut this one up then. Did I free Bambi? I think I freed Bambi. Good. Alright, this is still too long. Oh, this is still too long. I don't think this one can be chopped up into long planks. I'll have to cut a different tree down. Small trees are pretty good at chopping into long planks. With that in mind, I have so many thick log chunks that, like, a wood plank floor, at least I'll do one wood plank floor, like where I sleep, but for the rest of the shelter, I'll probably avoid it. Oh, here we go. So I can chop this into long planks. So it's like a it's a skinny, long section. It's a thin, long section of the tree that we can turn into long planks. So the tops of trees can become long planks. And short planks, for that matter. Alright, we'll start a stockpile. of long planks. In a pinch, they can also be used for firewood. And yeah, as you can see, it wore the hell out of my bronze handsaw already, because it hasn't been, like, honed or whatever. So, one short plank, one long plank, turns this into a shovel. I could also make a wooden paddle, which is for a raft, or a spear handle for a metal spear, which is way more damage than the simple one. All right, so we're gonna work on a shelter. So for the shelter, I just as a preference want high walls instead of low walls. They just look nicer. So I need this might actually be a little tricky. I need young trees for that. Oh, there's a bunch of coyotes that way. And this forest does not really have a lot of young trees. I want at least 4 young trees for the shelter. And this might be a bit of a bit tricky. Ah, here's one. Now, there is a handcart that you can build in order to be able to transport thin trunks. So there's different types of beams, posts. There's the fence posts, which is just regular sticks, which is good to keep, like, bunnies from eating your garden and stuff like that. And then there's medium posts, which is what I built my initial shelter with. And then there's the thin tree trunks that I'm holding right now to make tall posts. And tall posts are ideal for a fire pit in your shelter that has a smoker attached to it. Because smokers are too tall for the medium posts. So you need these thin trunks for the tall posts. So, I need 4 of those. I'm not going to set them up until I have all 4. Now the, oh, coyotes. Chasing a rabbit. The forest I started in just isn't great for young trees, because it's an old tree forest. Whereas the plains biomes will have plenty of thin young trees. So it's a little bit more trouble. But that also means that, like, most of my shelter is just going to be long stick, regular height, and I'm only going to have one section for the tall or a smoker. Oh, that's a coyote. Coyote, are you guarding a young tree? No, that's a small tree. Oh, there's a young tree here. Fishing? No, I haven't done fishing. I don't think fishing's in the game. Here's a little pro tip. If you're tired of walking with the post, you can set it up. And you'll automatically walk towards where you set it up. And then you can just go hands-free walking towards that spot. So you can see, I'm like automatically walking there. Another way, interesting way to collect this, if this was a problem, so if there really wasn't any nearby, is a raft. What is this, structure? A raft is made of thin trunks. So what you could do is you can make a paddle and a raft elsewhere where there is thin trunks, raft the raft over to your base, and then once your raft is at your base, you just break the raft down for thin trunks, essentially moving 5 thin trunks to your base from wherever. Because my lake is in the middle of a forest, I'm not going to be able to easily get a raft, you know, kind of anywhere, because I'm surrounded by this forest. It's a blessing and a curse. It's only a curse when you want young trees. But I'll be done with this soon. There's my third. It's also worth noting that fireplaces cannot be placed on like wood plank floors or anything like that. So if you want to incorporate, so if you're trying to build like a cabin that is like nice with all fine flooring, your fireplace can't be placed on that kind of flooring. So at least part of your base is going to be dirt or sand or whatever. You could do sand because you could place your cabin on sand to accommodate a fire pit. The world's most chill wild boars, yeah, they don't bother me at all. I leave them alone. One of the reasons why I've been leaving the animals alone is as long as I can forage for my food, having a bunch of animals around is useful for like emergency food if I'm starving or whatever. But also I'm not hungry. I don't really need to hunt them. It'd be a waste of my time to have an abundance of meat that only spoils. Until I have a method to preserve food better, I don't need to amass food. Is my thought process. So unlike most survival games where like it's like, oh my god, get food, food, food. In this one, food spoils so fast until you can preserve it that like getting a whole bunch of food doesn't help you much at all. Because it will just turn into fuel for your fire once it goes rotten. I am going to make my first batch of salt. So, putting dandelion roots in your fire, you boil them down into salts, which then you can use for preserving meat, for instance, or cooking with, or whatever. There's just tons and tons of recipes that include salt. Minor spoiler, not a big one. Most plants become more contaminated over time, or really all plants do, but that only matters for some recipes. So recipes for cooking, contamination matters. Recipes for teas don't matter. So what I'm trying to say is, dandelion greens and chamomile leaves don't matter if they're contaminated, whereas, like, garlic that you turn into, that you cook with will matter. So, contamination levels of some plants aren't a big deal, but that's not true for all plants. I did notice the coyotes. I think that... No, that's a small tree. And again, another little spoiler. Plants that you cultivate yourself will not match the background contamination increases. So as time goes on, the world becomes more contaminated, but the crops that you tend to as a farmer do not become more contaminated, unlike the crops that you can forage. So if you're looking to avoid contamination, planting your own blueberry bushes and your own garlic is a good way to avoid contamination, especially blueberries, because blueberries are... You can dry them to preserve them. You can turn them into juice, turn the juice into vinegar. There's a lot of things that you can do with the blueberries. So, pretty early on, I would suggest, once the background contamination reaches, I don't know, like 10% or so, I would highly suggest, you know, planting your own blueberry patches and garlic patches and things like that. Because it's way easier to eat uncontaminated foods than it is to figure out how to decontaminate yourself without spoiling too much. I don't want to spoil that part of the game just yet. Well, I finally found that young tree. Took me a while. It's going to be a bit of hauling this thing over. But this is the last young tree that I'm going to need, I think, for quite some time. And that also applies to animals. Animals will become more contaminated over time. So there are ways to decontaminate your food, but planting your own blueberries and your own garlic and stuff like that, mostly blueberries. Blueberries are a really good source of food. Or mushrooms. Brown cap especially, I think, is really nourishing. Let me double check. But I'm pretty sure brown cap is like... Yeah, that's pretty nourishing. That's a half a food per cap. Planting your own mushrooms and planting your own blueberries allows you to fulfill your food requirements without taking on a whole bunch of contamination. So right now my contamination level is 2.9. And once you hit contamination level 10, you start to suffer the ill effects from it. And then I think when your contamination exceeds like 40 or 50, you start dying from it. We have to plant some deer is what I'm saying? No, that's not what I'm saying. Orange cap is really good too. Yeah, orange cap I think is like what? Chanterelles or I don't know what it's supposed to be. So the posts that I'm putting in now are for my future fire pit. And maybe what I'll do is move these logs to potentially put my future fire pit where there's sand on the ground, just because it will aesthetically look nicer. So I'm moving the logs away while also super freaking out this deer. I do want to make sure that I can actually place a fire pit here though, because there's a chance that it registers as water through terrain generation and I wouldn't be able to put a pit here, so I'm going to double check. Thank you for tuning in to The Last Plague Blight, which will really stream live on Twitch October 19th. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below, but please keep in mind that I'm trying to avoid spoilers to not ruin this game for others. So if you could avoid spoilers, that would be great. If you would like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you would like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rhadamant.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching, and a special thank you to my Patreon patrons, Twitch subscribers, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow Blight survivors.